usual, Jodelle, and you might be wondering if you're watching this, what is going on with my shoulder? Well, today we're talking about how to empower your body to heal itself. And for that, I've brought on Dr. Bjorn Ekeberg. He's the CEO and co-founder of Recharge Health, and we're going to be talking about what that is. So if you're dealing with current or chronic health issues such as immune system issues, thyroid issues, gut issues, sleep and stress, pain, inflammation, nervous system issues, and even things like cellulite and stubborn weight gain, you are going to want to listen closely and empower yourself today with what Dr. Bjorn has to say. So scientific research has discovered that light at specific and really red light and near infrared light stimulates the body's natural healing process. And when this powerful light is targeted, it becomes much more effective. Enter what I have on my shoulder. Now, for those of you who can't see this and you're listening on an audio version, this is a nice little device that is emitting red light right into my shoulder, wrapped around my shoulder, nice and snugly. And it's something I can take anywhere and everywhere. And it's called the FlexBeam. And we're going to be talking about this today because I'm so passionate about red light. I want it any way and every way I can get it. But let's start there, Dr. Bjorn, and help people understand why light is so powerful with regard to their body. Science shows that your body operates like a battery, and a battery that's powered by certain wavelengths of sunlight. I'm really passionate about sunlight, so I'm super stoked to talk about this. And we're for sure solar powered creatures. We need the sun. We need that full spectrum of sun and its healing rays. So my listeners have heard me say before that food's not the only way that we derive energy. We actually also get charged by our light environment, right, Dr. Bjorn?
That's exactly it, Jodelle, and thanks for the great intro. I wonder when you came across this and had that revelation that I had, which for me was about 5 years ago, when you discovered the potency of sunlight in this particular way, because this is not how we are raised to think about the sun.
Yeah, for me, I think it was just in me. I've always been, I don't want to say I worship the sun because I worship God, but if I didn't, I would worship the sun, because the sun to me is just something that's always been, ever since I was a little girl, I was attracted to it, and I just felt that naturally. And even now, like my esthetician's like, you got to stay out of the sun. I'm like, sorry, I'm going to turn into the leather bag lizard lady because I don't want to stay out of the sun. But there's good sun and there's too much sun. So, and there's good waves of light in the sun that have healing rays. And that's why I really love that your device has provided this. So tell me about the power of the sun and its red light specifically.
Yeah, I mean, the power of the sun, that's an enormous topic when we're talking about the cosmic fireball of energy that feeds our entire planet and that we are shielded from at nighttime and then exposed to in daytime and so on inside of our little atmospheric bubble. There are particular parts of the light spectrum that really stand out as having a particular impact on our physiology. Like all of light and all the wavelengths we get does affect us in very precise ways, like in varied ways. And of course, it's the source of life on our planet. Like our food that we eat grows from sunlight, and we grow from sunlight, and we are, as you say, solar creatures. I think I've also intuitively always kind of known this, and I've always liked the sun. But for me, it was a new discovery about 5 years ago that red and near infrared wavelengths of light had this very particular kind of impact on our physiology at the cellular level. This I had never heard about before. And I came across it via two of my now co-founders who had also come across this research. Like NASA started doing research on this in the 2000s. They developed astronaut prototypes basically for like how to heal astronauts in space. There's a whole bunch of research, PubMed research, like thousands of studies that have documented this, but it's not commonly known. And I, like my co-founders, or two of them, we were all baffled and almost a little bit irate that like, why don't we know, but like, why can't you just, go to, instead of a pharmacy and get a lot of pills for your problems, like, why can't you go get a device that will help you with your pain and your issues and so on? Because clearly it works. And so we were in the position that we were able to kind of do that, because the two of them had the supply chain basis in Asia and hardware experience, electronics engineering, and all of this stuff. So we could create a product with the idea that this is something that once you realize what it can do for you, and it was quite an extensive list you mentioned at the beginning of the show, almost like too much to like, it almost sounds too good to be true for most people because it has such a wide array of benefits. But once that sinks in and you realize this is actually for real, this can do all of these kinds of things, why would you not want to have one at home? And so for us, we founded this company on the vision that this is a no-brainer for people to have in their household if you just make it accessible and effective enough and easy enough to use that anyone could want it. And the device that you're sporting on your shoulder is the first version, what we created, FlexBeam. And we are working on sort of the next generation behind this again to make it even better. But with this, we wanted to show that this is like something that anyone can use and get a lot of benefits from, and you can carry it with you. You don't have to be chained to a panel in your living room, or also importantly that it's a very powerful light with fans and everything, that it's not just like a cheap lamp that you can get on Alibaba or something like this that will also tout some of the same benefits, but that really don't work at all. So we wanted to create like something of quality, affordable and accessible for everyone, and to try to spread the word about what this kind of technology can do for people. And so we feel like we're, part of, and you are helpfully joining us as well in the sort of the health revolution that we think this is, that you can heal yourself in this way with light.
Awesome. Yeah, ever since I had my very first red light device, I have like 4 of them, 4 different kinds. I've just been passionate about how it really does what it says it's supposed to do. So even something as small as, I had this little bitty handheld thing that when I was going through my thyroid issues, I would shine it right on my thyroid for like months and months. And I really do believe, and there's research behind it, that with the thyroid, you can penetrate the thyroid to help it work better from red light therapy. And so I really appreciate, like what you said, it's not just a panel. Now I have this device that I can put on any part of my body that I need direct, targeted, specific tissue repair. And that's really what red light is all about. It's more targeted repair light, if you will. Red light equals repair, basically. And I like what you said, that I wish more doctors would, when you go in their office, go, okay, well, here, I'm going to have you, sit in the red light based on this symptom and put it on this part of your body. In fact, I do go to 2 different doctors. I'll call out Dr. Lawrence in Sarasota, who actually has a red light in every one of his patients' rooms that he puts on the person, no matter what they're there for. And so that's a really good doctor. And another doctor I have, Dr. Bolin in Missouri, she recommended to my daughter, my 8-year-old, okay, when we're done, I'm going to have you sit in the red light sauna. What doctor does that? So I love that it's becoming more mainstream, and with products like yours, it certainly can. So let's break down the benefits and the science a little bit. Like what I mentioned, there's immune, there's thyroid, there's hair growth, there's eye health, there's stress and inflammation. There's so many, like you said, it's almost too good to be true, but that's the power of nature, because red light stems from nature. And so it's empowering your body to heal itself with this light. So what have you seen in the research as far as like why this is so effective? How does it penetrate the body? What makes it so effective?
Yeah, I mean, the key word there is penetration. Right, and that has to do with the red light is able to penetrate a little bit under the dermis, like just under the skin and in through the skin. And it's really near infrared, which is a part of the invisible spectrum. It's just off the spectrum from red light, that can penetrate even deeper. And what all of the studies are showing is that it's able to stimulate the mitochondria in your cells. And you have billions of mitochondria. It's estimated to be 10% of your body weight, when it's like somebody's tried to count this. It's like made up of mitochondria. These are the organelles that are responsible for the energy production in your body. They do a lot of things besides energy as well. They're not just for energy, but that's the usual association. And they respond to these frequencies of light. And so crucially, when you have a device, and like this is how we designed ours, is to go straight on the skin, is because that penetration is how you actually reach the cells in the first place. So if you're standing far away from a panel or something, or the light is just not powerful enough or don't have those particular kind of wavelengths, you're just basking in a glow, but it doesn't go underneath your skin and into tissue or into muscle. And that's the, the profound effect that you can get from a targeted device straight on the skin that has a very powerful near infrared component along with the red light. So, I mean, we often say red light as a kind of shorthand for red and near infrared. You will find most devices out there use both of these frequencies. But infrared's potential to go underneath the skin is because of the long wavelengths it has. And so when you can stimulate the cells at that level and deep into tissue, like muscle tissue and into ligaments, these kinds of things, you are really sort of kickstarting an energy process at the cellular level. Like the energy currency in the cells is called ATP. And you can show how, some studies have shown how it increases the production of ATP. So if your cells have increased energy to do what it's supposed to be doing, it can do it really, really more efficiently. And what does the body really do? Most of the time, it's repairing and recovering. It's healing from all the impact that we get to it. I mean, the body is sort of a recovery machine, if you will, a living organism that is set to recover. And so there's something really amazing that happens when it's exposed to these kinds of wavelengths. Right, that starts that process. And why, if you were completely deprived of the sun and you didn't have this device at all, you would really start depleting your body's like natural fuel for like this kind of recovery process as well. So, I mean, the importance of being out in the sun generally, or like getting sun exposure, has to do with your overall general health. FlexBeam, or like this kind of targeted device, is a way to get a much more concentrated dose specifically in an area using those same natural wavelengths in a more focused way, more focused and targeted way. So the power you are putting there on your shoulder, it is in that particular spot, is much more than you would get from just being out in the sun for 10 minutes, right? But it's the same wavelengths and it's the same principle.
Yeah. It's kind of like a concentrated dose of the sun, if you will. So, and you heard my little device go off. It lasts for about 10-minute cycles. So it goes off by itself after 10 minutes. I have it in kind of the wrap position. So for those of you watching, it stretches out to where you can put it on various parts of your body, no matter where it is. Like I haven't found a part yet that you can't reach. So it's been really effective for that concentration. Now, as far as the word penetration that you mentioned, I have heard it said, but I couldn't find the research. Maybe you've seen it. Where is it 30 centimeters into the skin that infrared does? Like, is that deep enough to go into things like the liver and the thyroid we were talking about?
Yeah, it's not quite as much as 30 centimeters. I would say 2 to 3 inches.
Okay.
Like this is what it usually can do. So like up to 4 if there's nothing in the way. This really depends on where you're shining it, because bone will be more dense and will sort of block some of this. But you're able to get substantially underneath the epidermis and down into ligaments and tissue. And so for liver, this is something I use quite a lot. It's like I just put one diode on just around under the diaphragm and press it against. You are able to, like, I can't measure exactly how many centimeters it is under my skin, but it's right there. Yeah. And you are definitely able to target it. And also keep in mind that mitochondria are all over your body, but they're particularly concentrated in your organs and in your gut. So if you shine it on your gut or directly on your liver or anything, you are able to stimulate them much more powerfully. And then usually, one dose of 10 minutes, which is how we designed it, the 10-minute cycle, is usually enough to give it quite a boost.
Yeah, and that's so true, because the device can wrap right around your midsection. So it's really great for if somebody has gut inflammation, or if they've got that dull ache on their right side, that's kind of your liver talking to you. You might want to wrap it right there. I always have my clients, if they don't have one of these, go out and lay in the sun, and I call it sun your liver, like get sunlight on your liver. So this makes it a little more doable, especially in this time of year when we're seeing a lot of more cloudy days than we are sunny days. If we can't get that sun exposure, it's nice to have something like this to where we can have that good healing rays anytime we need it. Now, truth be told, I knew nothing of this device. I had my little red light devices I was using, and your company reached out to me and said, you want to try this? And I'm like, yeah, I want to try it. I've never seen something like this before. And I only podcast with people that I can recommend a product that I know works. And so that's why after I tried it, I'm like, yes, I want to have you guys on because I saw this work firsthand. My husband went for a run with me. He doesn't normally run. And he, of course, wasn't really prepared, but like the ego in a guy, they want to go a little bit faster. And he actually tore his meniscus on a run.
Oh, wow.
So I had just gotten this device from you guys, and I said, let's try it. We've got nothing to lose. And a meniscus, if anybody's aware of, it's a very tiny little bitty ligament on the knee and he also tore his MCL, by the way, at the same time. He did both. We went to Dr. Laurent's to confirm with an ultrasound, but they're very tiny. And it doesn't take, it usually takes a lot to degenerate them and cause them to tear, but he was able to do that. And so we put the red light on there, and he had been limping. Within a few days, he stopped limping. We did it maybe 2 to 3 times a day, and in between ice, we iced it as well, but that's the only thing we did. And within a few days, he stopped limping. And he's not going to have any surgery or anything. It should repair on its own. But that's because we have been particularly passionate about putting the red light on him 2 to 3 times a day. So he went away on a job for a little bit of time, didn't have the red light device, all of the inflammation, all of the pain. He started limping again. And this was 2 weeks' time. He came back, we put the red light on it. Within a few days, the limping went away and the pain and inflammation was gone. So I saw it back and forth, when he didn't have the red light versus when he did. And that's when I reached out to you guys and said, yes, I want to have you on the podcast because I saw this firsthand. And I've used other red light devices. And because this is so concentrated, I could see a difference. So
yeah, that's great. That's amazing to hear. This is why we built it, and this is why we work like hamsters on a wheel every day to build this business and get the word out. Is precisely stories like this, and we have so many of them. But this is it's really gratifying. They can help people. That you can avoid surgery, for example. That's also we hear from a lot of users. That's and that's what usually, I mean, it sounds like you have much more progressive doctors around where you live than many other people are blessed with. But I mean, the common approach to something like this happening is just that you go on a conveyor belt into book your surgery and these kinds of things with all the complications that follow.
Yeah. And what if it's not necessary? What if your body can stimulate its own stem cells? Yeah. Because I read that in the literature that you guys have, that red light therapy actually can stimulate stem cells. Can you talk on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the more exciting avenues of research around this, that it stimulates the stem cells in the body, to regenerate. This is part of the remodeling process that happens anyway when you are going through some sort of injury. Stem cells are involved. Many people associate stem cells with very advanced research and stuff, but you have that natural process in your body. And those cells also respond in the same way as the overall, the mitochondria do to near infrared light particularly. And so it's definitely possible to do this. Now, of course, there are limits to this as well. I mean, if you are it sounds like your husband was also lucky that he didn't tear even more. There's a limit to what your body can do, just on its own with light, but it's also really quite amazing, I think, when you discover your body's potential this way, that your body is just has this incredible healing power. And all it really needs to be able to run more efficiently and do that work more concentrated is energy to do so. And that energy is what this device or infrared light will provide for your cells.
Which is awesome, because if anybody's ever looked into stem cells, when he had this injury and we went to see Dr. Laurent, we were all about stem cells until we heard the price of it. Stem cells are very expensive that you're paying out of pocket. So if you can use something that stimulates stem cell production, why not? So that would save you quite a bit of money in the long run. Now, what about the frequency and how often you should target a specific area? What does that look like for someone?
Yeah, and that's a really important aspect of this, has to do with dosing, right? So the distinguishing factor, as I mentioned from the outset about this device is the power and the concentration and the effectiveness of how it's designed. So you get a certain dose. However, just because it works at 10 minutes or 20 minutes doesn't mean you get better results if you use it for 1 hour or 2 hours. Quite to the contrary. There is sort of a bell curve shape on optimal dosage. And we generally recommend people to not use it in one spot for more than 30 minutes. If you're doing multiple areas of the body, you could do some like overlap, like 10 minutes in different places if you have other places to treat. But the positive effects actually start wearing off once you do too much. And the reason for this is that you are really exposing your body to what's called hormetic stress, right? When you are exposing it to these kinds of wavelengths of light. It's a small stress response in the same way that an ice bath will do or a vigorous workout will do. It basically stresses your cells just at that level enough so that they bounce back stronger. It's the same principle with red and infrared light as well, but it's a dose that stimulates a response in the body. So we've seen this quite a lot in the beginning with users who, in the beginning, they fiddle around with the device and they're wondering about feeling the impact. And then because sometimes it takes a bit of time, it's not necessarily instant if you're not injured or something. And then once they recognize that, oh, this is really doing something after 10, 20 minutes for, a muscle pull or something, and then they will start using it all the time. And we got some use cases. Then they're using it for 2 hours. And then they're like, they get no results at all because your body just kind of adapts.
Yeah.
I guess the analogy is with training, that if you go back to the gym after you've done your heavy workout and then you just go back and do it 3 more times, you're not going to get 3 times stronger. So dosage is really key. And that's why we try to set the cycles for like 10-minute intervals. It's very hard to be exact and the same rule applies to everyone because everybody's so different. But there are general guidelines within this, which is, within 10 to 20 minutes in one spot is usually enough. You can repeat it 1 more time in the evening if you're treating something. We also offer sort of tailored protocols for specific conditions so that you can follow a routine if you really want to like treat something over time. But that's usually enough. So it's important not to overdo it to get results.
Yeah, I really liked that it came with the device came with a book that actually has quite a few protocols in it for different things, like 2 times, 10 minutes, this position, that position. Like they had detailed protocols, which were very helpful because sometimes you get a new gadget or device and you're like, okay, I don't even know where to start with this thing. So
no, and exactly. And, most people don't even see the book, like people don't read books anymore. So we're trying to offer more of this stuff also online. We have a new membership program for new customers now that they can join into a kind of forum where we have housed more of these protocols. So one of my co-founders is a medical doctor, Dr. Julia Frost, and she has worked with this kind of technology for over 20 years. Like she's treated over 10,000 patients with using red light therapy, lasers, all of these modalities. So she has a tremendous clinical experience. That was like one of the key reasons why, I joined this company to begin with when we met and we thought we have a lot of the knowledge necessary to make something applicable. And Dr. Julia has created over 100 different protocols for all kinds of conditions and tailored applications. And we're offering them to members so that they can, also subscribe to really detailed ones and even get to consultation if they want to. But, learning how to use it properly to get the most from your device is also crucial. So for us, it's, the knowledge side is important.
Yeah. And now there's a lot of studies for hair growth. Now, you guys don't recommend actually wrapping this around your head. And I want to know why, because I will tell you, I did it without understanding that. And it was almost like my brain went on like hyper mode. Like for the next day, I didn't sleep good. I was like,
no,
I have so much
I've had the same experience.
So maybe it's an energy enhancer, but tell me why you don't wrap it around the head, because it seems like it'd be brilliant for like putting it on the follicles for hair growth, because there is studies on red light and hair growth.
Yeah, and that's specific for like red light. There's a lot of promising research around hair growth. There's also a lot of promising research for a red and near infrared light for the brain. I think we're going to see a lot of pioneering products in this space. There are already some like helmets and stuff are coming out. But the brain is very complex and is a very different kind of organ than anything else in your body. It, of course, has a lot of mitochondria, so it's going to stimulate a lot, but your brain is more packed with electromagnetic energy than anywhere else in your body. So we just want to be cautious about this. Is why we say don't put it on your head, is because this is dosed and designed to go on your skin and to go underneath your skin and to repair any part of your body. But when you do the same thing on your head, most likely you're just getting way too much energy than what you need. You don't need that much of a dose in your brain. And there's certain sensitive spots, I would say, for men, it's testicles, and for women, some particular, I mean, you mentioned thyroid before, it can be beneficial for some sensitive areas to just use a lower dose. We also try to outline this in the guidelines. For all musculoskeletal things, like a 10-minute, 20-minute dose is perfect. But for the brain, yeah, you probably just got a little bit too much stimulation and a lot of crazy things started happening. I mean, I did it once myself because I'm a curious person and I sort of had a biohacking background myself. So like, why not? But I ended up with a headache. Some people like it, like they have the opposite response, but it's just, if I had to distill it into like one reason why we're not recommending is there's not enough research.
Okay. So yeah, because I felt like I was a crack addict after I put it, and I was putting it on because I thought, ooh, I'll get like better cognition and I'll like boost my brain's mitochondria, because your brain has a ton of mitochondria.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, it should be in theory it should be amazing, but no, the brain is more complex and more sort of sensitive. Like the energy would just spread out like too quickly, we think. But mostly there's a lack of research in this area, and the research has to be under much stricter and more medical conditions. There's tons of research on all parts of the body, but the brain is still a pioneering area. Hair growth responds to red light specifically. So if you can't put it like maybe over your brain, but if there's some damaged hair, for example, if you have long hair, you could still wrap the red light. Setting 1 on FlexBeam is predominantly red light, and you could still get an effect from that.
Yeah, I have a client that wanted it for hair growth. And so I said, okay, don't put it on your head, but like set it on a pillow to where the light shines out, and then like lay your head in front of it to where it's like maybe got a few inches between your head and the device. And she seemed to like that. Like that was doable for her, so that she could just lay down and enjoy still the red light on you without it actually being on your brain, so to speak. So that's
so the red light setting on FlexBeam, like we have three settings, so you can choose a little bit like what you are wanting to, how deep you want to target. And the first setting is predominantly red light, so it's a much softer thing. If you're ever going to like try it experimentally around your hair or your brain, then setting 1 is your probably your most likely friend, because it has very little infrared light. We don't recommend doing it for the reasons you just outlined.
Okay.
For everything else, it's great.
Awesome. Okay, so what about red light therapy and the eyes? Like, can someone like look at it? Have you seen research on how red light can actually be beneficial for eye health?
Yeah, so this is another area of research that's talked about a lot, and I see it popping up in like news feeds and stuff, because there are some sort of groundbreaking studies on this in parallel to hair growth that's specific to red light. And here again, it's very important to note that dosage is key, and this is very experimental and it's still early stage research. So some of those research results that are then reverberating through the sort of landscape of sort of scientific journaling and into newspapers and so on, don't always underline how low the dosage was that actually had an effect. So if you compare it to what's in FlexBeam, it would just be like a minute or 2 on the red light setting. Still, we also don't recommend looking into the eyes like with this device for the same reasons as for the brain. There's not enough research, and there's a potential downside, especially if you use the infrared light setting, because infrared light is invisible, and therefore it doesn't induce a blinking response. So if you took a FlexBeam and you start staring into it, and like for a long time, but like just on the infrared setting, your eyes wouldn't recognize it, they wouldn't blink, so you can potentially get damage to your eyes if you were to stare at it. That's why we say don't stare into the light.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like you wouldn't do it with the sun either. I mean, if you're like me, I squint at the sun and I enjoy the glimpse, but I wouldn't be staring at it for a long time. It's a very powerful light, basically. So with these now trending, I think what this research is indicating on hair growth, testosterone, eyes specifically, there's a lot of caution around like trying that yourself because it's only done in very specific clinical settings.
Okay.
You know, but it shows a lot of the promise, I think, of the technology is producing results that are quite significant. But I would expect there to be more tailored like devices specifically for eye treatment. It's not something that I would recommend like trying on your own.
You mentioned testosterone because I was going to ask you about that because there's a lot of research shining it on your, you know, your downstairs. Have people had good results with that, with this particular device, or have they done that?
Yeah, we have several case studies that we tracked, and we know from some of our users that have tried it. We had, you know, in the initial stages, we had a large sort of biohacker contingent of people who are very experimentalist by nature and very curious. So they tried it for all kinds of things. We definitely seen results in our user case studies, but the best results, and based on that, we've provided our recommendation is to use just very small dose. So like only a few minutes.
Okay.
We give a better response than the full length program. And that has to do with the sensitivity of the organs and just that, again, it's about finding that just the right dosage.
Awesome. You know, I'm a big proponent of cellular detox, and I feel like a lot of people are dealing with what's called cellular resistance, where their cells are resistant to the hormones that they're trying to produce and the chemical messengers that are going to get into the cell. And I'm a big on lymph movement and getting that lymphatic system and the immune system and the cells to respond and talk to each other. And red light does that, correct? Red light can really stimulate lymphatic flow and help with the cellular restructuring, yeah?
Yeah, we have a protocol for that too that Dr. Zuli has created. You have to know where to place it. Like you have to understand your body well enough and know where the sort of particular points are. But yeah, this is one of the effects from stimulating with this kind of light.
Yeah, and what about weight loss? Have you seen people use the red light device like this and see weight loss in certain areas or all over? What's that been like in your experience?
Yeah, it's a bit, from what I've seen of the user studies and the research, it's a little bit mixed because it's often mixed in with a lot of hype as well. Like that's what we'll call it headlines, you know, you just shine it on and you get rid of your fat. It does seem to have a very, very positive effect if you're using it in connection with working out of a certain area. There are some people who swear by using it as sort of a, you know, spot reduction. But honestly, I haven't seen enough results that I could like go on the record and say, yeah, here's your recipe for fat loss. I think what we can say for sure is that it's stimulating and boosting your overall health and condition. And that in itself is going to have sort of a systemic effect of this is also going to put you on the path of weight loss if that is, for example, what your goal is. And you're doing other kinds of activities in order to, and like, you know, changing your diet around and you're doing certain kind of activities to trigger weight loss, then red light, near infrared light is going to assist in that process. But I've seen some very sketchy product marketing and sort of almost like an iron that you just like put it on and the fat melts away and stuff. And I honestly am very skeptical of that.
Yeah, you mentioned how it increased ATP production, which would make sense why it would help deliver the right nutrients to the cell and respond to the cell and get oxygen into the cell. And if you have improved mitochondria, maybe you're going to see better metabolic systems overall. So
if you get healthier, you're also, one of the side effects is going to be, in many cases, weight loss.
Yeah, and you mentioned things that people can do alongside of it, like proper nutrition and exercise. But what about, are there things that make the red light more powerful, such as like if somebody's properly hydrated, maybe with their electrolytes, and they're really getting the right minerals into the cell, are they going to see better effects from the red light working better like that?
Hydration often leads to better results. It's often recommended to have, drink water after if you're treating yourself. I mean, that's like sort of a general principle. One of the sort of complementary functions that some of our earlier testers in the biohacking sphere really got excited about, it's a combination with cold plunging or ice bathing.
Mm-hmm.
If you ever tried that, or like cryotherapy or something like this, because it seems the connection is that when you expose yourself to extreme cold, you like plunge into cold water and you come out, your pores open. And so if you then use red light therapy after, this makes your body sort of more primed to receive it so that the dose you get is more powerful. And I'm guessing also the combination of like going from one extreme to the other, like warming infrared light after cold, also has its own set of effects.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a particularly popular combination in biohacking circles, is to use, FlexBeam on your stomach, for example, after a really cold bath. Then you get more out of the light, is at least the theory. I've only tried it once because I'm not so into cold plunging, but I do notice the effect for sure.
I have a cold plunge, so I'll have to do that. Just make sure you don't cold plunge with your FlexBeam on. That would
That
be
would not be a good idea. I mean, it's not waterproof on the top, but
right.
yeah.
What about with methylene blue? Because I've seen studies about how methylene blue and red light are very complementary. Do you know much you can say?
Yeah, I've seen the same studies. It seems they're very synergistic. So we have also among our biohacking friends, that's also a popular combination.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite supplements. So yeah, definitely you can give it a try if you're one of us weird hackers that like to be curious, like you said, and try new things. So what about with children? I have a 9-year-old daughter and she likes to utilize it. Is it something you recommend for children, for pets
Yeah.
even?
I mean, this is one of the great things about this technology, that when we first started and wanted to build, like we want to build more than one device, that there are many technologies that can work, but red light therapy, near infrared light, has been studied so extensively and known to be so safe, generally speaking. So you can use it for children, you can use it for pets. We generally recommend about half dosage time or something to begin, just to make sure, because smaller bodies, especially small animals, may not need as much as a full human body, but absolutely they can respond very, very well to the treatment, and it's totally safe.
Wonderful. And skin, so much skin benefit. I mentioned at the beginning cellulite. I get a lot of women specifically saying, I need a meal plan. I've got all this cellulite. But what if it's more than just the meal plan? What if there's more they can do to address cellulite?
I mean, I see the red light therapy space and the buzz around this whole sector like a relatively fringe technology that's now like growing in popularity, is driven in large part by cosmetics and aesthetics.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a whole plethora of these sort of face masks and other applications you can use specifically for the skin. I actually think the red light therapy might even be confusing for some people, because it's going to be increasingly associated with these cosmetic applications, because that's the red light that really responds to or like that really stimulates at the skin level. So FlexBeam has a lot of red light in it, a lot of infrared light. So you will get, if I put it this way, it's designed to really go deep into your body and really deal with like muscle issues and ligaments and, like really penetrate deeply. But it also has a powerful red light setting, so you can use it to get that glow, like on your face, or to put it straight on the skin if you want to heal something, like at the skin level. But it has more red light power than you would find in a face mask, for example. Because for red light, you don't necessarily need so much power and so much output just to get surface improvements. So with this device, you can really go a little bit deeper. I think it gives a more extensive treatment. We didn't design it as a beauty device, and we're not marketing it as a beauty device, but if you have one, you would definitely, it's one of the favorite sort of side benefits of getting one, is that you can also then use it for skincare.
Mm.
But it's very hard to square in one package something that works for the beauty industry versus sports and recovery and fitness and health.
Yeah, that's why I love it. It's like there's so many modalities it could be used for, whether somebody just has chronic pain and inflammation from things like fibromyalgia, or if they're thinking, I don't want to do Botox, but I kind of want to get some red light therapy so that my wrinkles get less. That's like a wide range of what you could utilize it for. Now, as far as
Yeah.
distance, we're putting it right on us, like you said. But what's the advantage of something like this over, you've seen these full body red light saunas where people are sitting, their whole body is now being saturated by red light. Are they getting as big of a bang by not having that targeted approach in a certain area, or are there benefits to both, or would you favor one over the other? What would you say?
Yeah, it's a good question. It really depends on what you were comparing it to, like which sauna, like if you are going to go to physics about it, it has to do a lot with your output and what actually comes, like what output inside of the sauna to compare what is the actual effect of the light and so on. I've seen a lot of these commercial applications aren't necessarily as powerful as they seem. Like you sit in a room and you get this sort of ambient red light, but whether that actually is able to penetrate and give you like any kind of targeted effect, I think is highly doubtful. But you can get a general systemic boost from them. So I think there's benefits to both, but it's important to note that if you use your like a targeted device in an area like, for example, the stomach or along the spine or any sort of central nervous place, you still get a systemic effect even if you're shining it in one local area. Right? You're getting your body a dose of light, and it will, in a certain way, the energy will go where it's needed. Maybe not as extreme as if you put it on your neck, it will go to your toes, but it's like by shining it on your stomach, like it will evaporate from there. So if you're looking for a general wellness effect, you can have just as powerful effect with a targeted device as you can sitting in a red room.
No, that's good to know because, like you said, I think it makes a difference of what the person's goal is. If they're just wanting all around, like, I don't really know what I want, I'll just sit in a red light sauna versus I want to do this, 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 and this. I've got these things I'm working on, and now I have a device that I can specifically put it on that area and work on it. So I love that aspect.
Yeah, I mean, we design this device and do all the research on it and stuff. We're kind of like nerdy about it and scientific about it and trying to measure the actual output and how it reaches and doing these kinds of calculations to figure out what's the most effective way. I think that there's a lot of psychology around like a full body panel or a full body room, the feeling, the idea that you're then immersing yourself in all this light, that this is somehow more beneficial. I think if you start counting or like looking at the actual watt and how it's affecting you, when it's at a distance, it is far less effective. So if you have a wall panel, for example, and typically you would stand 3, 4, 5 inches away from it, at that distance, you've lost 90% of the output from the light. Like this is just physics. Like the light doesn't transmit that powerfully for such a long distance. That's why you need it to be close. But it's also very uncomfortable to stand up like super close to a panel as well, because it gets hot, right? So this is why we like design FlexBeam to be encased and have fans and everything, so you can wear it on your skin without burning or sweating, any of these kinds of things. But again, the impact and the difference is in how close you are to the light source, how effective that is. That's the effect. That's a net effect. That's a net energy that your body takes in. But if you sit far away from the source, it would have to be super powerful light in order to get in there.
That's such good information because I think people are negating that, or they're not thinking about, well, I'm sitting in front of my red light, I'm getting my red light exposure, but maybe it's not close enough. And like you said, it's kind of hard to sit, nose to nose with your red light device. So this is something that you can put on your body. And frankly, people complain that they don't have a lot of time. I've got a lot of clients that have red light saunas and they don't go in them because they don't have time to stop and sit and go in there. Versus this, you could literally put this on your knee or your back and go drive to your destination with this thing on you doing its work while you're doing something else. You could sit at your desk and put it on your shoulder or your whatever part of your body while you're doing other things. You don't have to take time away to go sit in something. So I think it makes it, for the fast-paced world that we live in right now, I think it makes it really convenient too, that you can take this therapy with you wherever you are. And then
I think it's an important principle that we had from the start is what's the best red light therapy device? It's the one that you use the most, because it's the
Yeah.
cumulative effect over time.
Yeah.
And so what can often happen with the enthusiasm and sort of DIY, like I build my own garage with huge panels and everything I have in the room, is like, will you be able to be consistent and keep going there? Will you go there all the time and take all your clothes off and stand in front of the panel every day? Will it actually become a routine? There's a lot of great panels that in theory, like that work really, really well if you use them. Like there are like, you know, good power output and good wavelength, all the right things in them. But the question is, will you use it that often?
Mm-hmm.
And will you be close enough to really have that effect? Right. So that's why we wanted to design something that was much more, yeah, convenient and easy to use. So you can bring it around, so you can always get that dose.
Well, I think you did just that. So it's really well thought of and really well done, and I'm enjoying using it in a variety of ways. So I can't recommend it enough. Now, how do people get their hands on it? I'm going to have a link in the show notes, and actually you guys gave me a code where they can get quite a bit of money off, so that's great. But where can they learn more? Maybe they want to watch those videos you were talking about and just see how they can implement it before they even purchase one.
Yeah, for sure. We have a lot of information on our website. Is recharge.health. Like our company is called Recharge Health.
Mm-hmm.
And also you'll find us if you search for FlexBeam, we will come up first. That's the device itself. But Recharge Health is sort of our portal for a lot of information about how you can, you know, empower yourself through this technology. And FlexBeam is our first product. And you can buy it, directly order it from there. We drop ship to anywhere in the world. If we're going on that pitch note, it's we offer a 60-day open purchase or a money back guarantee. And we started selling this in 2020 and we saw so little wear and tear down the line. We started with a 2-year warranty. We extended it to 5 because it's a really durable device. If you use it a lot, maybe you need to replace the battery, but then we have a fix for that too. It's something that it should last you a really long time. And with all of the creative uses that you've already listed, that you're already trying it for, I think that there's no shortage of ways that you can put it to use, to put it that way.
Yeah. And I have one more anecdotal story. My uncle came to visit and he has pretty bad arthritis in his hand and his wrist. And so much so there's like a little ball right there. And so I had him put it on there at night and he would go to bed with no pain and he'd wake up the next morning and he's like, I gotta put that device on again because I slept with no pain in my wrist all night. So it actually also was very beneficial for somebody with arthritis who just has that chronic ongoing pain. In fact, when he left my house, he's like, don't forget to send me that link because I got to get one of those. So it's like the truth is in the pudding. Like you just try it and all of a sudden you feel the difference. Now, Dr. Bjorn, what is your favorite way to utilize it? Like, what do you get benefit from it personally?
For myself, I really like the stomach application. I put it vertically along the stomach, and often if I meditate in the morning or something, I just hold it there close. It's a nice warming feeling. You have a lot of light receptors and mitochondria in your gut. So I find that has a soothing at the same time as energizing effect. That's my sort of daily ritual. And then if ever I have an old injury in my lower back from too much, like a bad deadlift or something from many years ago, whenever that kicks in, then it's my go-to device for like keeping that in check so I can go back to the gym again or recover faster.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's great. Okay, I have one final question that I like to ask all of my guests. So this doesn't really pertain to red light, but I like to ask based on my favorite quote, which is by Audrey Hepburn. And it says, I believe that every day should have at least one exquisite moment. So Dr. Bjorn, can you share with me today what is your one exquisite moment that you've had or maybe will have?
Well, then I'm glad you asked me today because today was a beautiful sunny day in Oslo. It's early spring and I got to have my office outside on my balcony and sit in the sunshine and work for an hour and really feel that effect and enjoy that whole force of energy that gives us so much life that I know that you appreciate as well. So
Yeah,
that was my exquisite moment for today, for sure.
I love that. Yeah, I got to get back to Norway. The one time I was there, I hiked up to Preacher's Rock and I hiked all around, and Oslo is such a beautiful city and oh my goodness, you're so blessed to live there. So I got to get back over there.
Well, thank you. I feel that way as well. But it doesn't sound like it's too shabby where you are at too, with all these progressive doctors and a red light everywhere.
Yeah, I'm trying to promote the full spectrum of the sun everywhere we can. So thank you so much for what you do, and thanks for being on the show. And we'll have you back. And maybe if some more products are launched with Recharge Health, we need to talk about those. So
Thanks a lot for having me on, Jodelle, and thanks for doing what you do to spread the good word and the light, so to speak.
thank you. Bye for now.
Trouble sleeping? Gut issues? Do you know your thyroid is off, but your doctor won't do anything about it? Symptoms don't lie. If you feel like you don't feel good, then something is off. Listen to that inner knowing and reach out. That's what I'm here for, to help guide you towards what's going on at the root of your issues and get them resolved. Bring back your vitality, your energy, your happiness, and get that body you've always wanted with nutrition and lifestyle therapy. I approach it from a very bio-individual way, and each consult is unique to you, where I get to know you and what your body needs. Rates are affordable with different options depending on what you need and what you can afford. No two people are alike, and none of their lifestyles are alike, so I don't approach any consultation the same as another. You are as unique as your fingerprint, so let's get to the bottom of what your body needs and get you looking and feeling as awesome as I know you are. To get started with a free 15-minute discovery call, email me at getfitwithjodelle@gmail.com. That's GETFIT with Jodelle, JODELLE @gmail.com.
What would it feel like to have virtually every supplement known to man at your fingertips? And what if you only had to drink water to get it in? I firmly believe in something called frequency. It's what you feel when you touch a rock that's warmed by the sun. That warmth is frequency. It's how your text message gets to your friend's phone thousands of miles away. It travels on frequency. It's lightning. When the lightning hits the earth, it adds electrons to the earth, and that's how we ground. It's wind, it's brain waves, it's microwaves. Everything has frequency. And now you can write frequencies into your water, since water holds frequencies. So imagine if each supplement has its own frequency and you write that into water, you can literally have any supplement, any peptide, any bioidentical hormone in your water. Listen to a podcast I did with a guy named Anton Fedorenko, a leading expert on frequency, and then visit my link in the show notes to infopathy, or infoceuticals, which is a way to infuse your water with the frequency of any substance or supplement that you want. Like I said, even peptides, without ever spending a penny on them. Check out the show notes for a link to infopathy and a special discount code just for my listeners.
Well, it's not raindrops on roses, but these are a few of my favorite things that I always notice a difference in my health when I stick to these healthy habits. So number one is watching the sunrise or some sort of red light exposure every single day. Number two is grounding and earthing daily. And sometimes I combine watching the sunrise while swimming in my local lake. First thing in the morning, as the sun comes up, I'm grounded, I'm earthed right into this natural body of water. Number three is C60. I've been using a supplement called C60 Purple Power for over 3 years now with great results. I don't intend to stop. I use it for a variety of reasons. And number four, as most of you know, I am a professional paddleboard athlete. So paddleboarding is always part of my weekly regimen of keeping my mind fresh, getting my vitamin P, and keeping my body in a really great healthy state with lots of active relaxation in that form of movement that uses up your entire body. Now I'm going to have a link to a few of the things that make these habits more efficient, more affordable, and effective for me in the show notes of this podcast that I personally use and recommend daily to my clients. The first one is going to be, if you can't get some sort of sunlight exposure, then consider a red light device, which I love SaunaSpace, and I'm going to have a link where you get a 5% discount in saunaspace.com in the show notes here, so check that out. Also, if you need to get grounded, but you're working at a computer all day in an office on the 4th floor, I get it. Let's get a grounding mat underneath your feet, so while you're getting all that EMF exposure, it's actually just getting right out of your body and you're getting grounded throughout the day. So I'm going to have a link to Ultimate Longevity, where you can get a simple universal mat to put right underneath your feet.
And I'm going to have a link to C60 Purple Power where you can save 10% on this supplement that can be used from anything to more energy, to better hair and skin, to also helping with blisters and bruises and scrapes and even zits. Yes, you can use it even as mouthwash. So there's so much you can do with this. And for paddleboarding, I'm going to recommend Glide SUP, Glide SUP, stand-up paddleboards, because they come in inflatable as well as rigid hardboards, and they are by far the best boards I've used as of recent years to make sure that I'm getting a quality board that gets me out on the water and I don't have to worry about it having any issues. So that's glidesup.com, and you can get 10% off using my code that will be in the show notes. So I hope you get to use some of my favorite things, but also reach out and tell me about them. Tell me about what you like about these products too. Getfitwithjodelle@gmail.com.